you've broken up with your partner or they left you, and now you're both considering getting back together. Does it make sense? Does it not? In this video, I'll share some important points to consider. The first clarifying question to start out asking yourself is, why did we break up in the first place? Take some time to reflect and really dive into the reasons that led to your breakup. What didn't work? What were painful moments? Why did you or your partner or both of you come to the conclusion that it would be best to end it? Next, think about what has changed since your breakup. How did both or one of you change? What did you or your ex do to change? How visible is this change in action? How stable is this change? Would this change have the necessary positive effect on your dynamic as a couple? If nothing has changed since your breakup, the unhealthy dynamic you had before will creep back into your relationship sooner or later if you end up getting back together. You will be right back in front of the same problems and the same pain that already led to you breaking up once. That would be a pretty unsatisfying, damaging cycle to get back into. In the short term, it'll probably feel good to go like that and have a solution for your heartbreak and longing for your ex. The question is, what will happen long term? Next, I'll describe a few unhealthy patterns to watch out for. See if you and your ex would be in danger of falling back into any of these. If yes, it's not a good idea to get back together without resolving these issues first. Number 1, attachment issues. These are problems that revolve around relationship fears. Some people respond or cope with their own relationship fears by downplaying the importance of long-term stable relationships and not wanting to commit. And others respond to these fears by becoming hyper-clingy and obtrusive. Some people also mix these two styles. If one of you has issues like these, or you both do, your relationship will either fail or become really difficult and a struggle, unless you work on change. Often the commitment avoidant person and the hyper clingy person are attracted to each other, and then it becomes extra difficult. Number 2, accountability issues. Some people struggle being accountable for themselves, and others are overly accountable. They'll feel responsible for things that they're not responsible for. If there is an imbalance in your relationship based on accountability issues, one of you will be the scapegoat for everything that goes wrong, and the other one will always be right. Number 3, emotion regulation issues. It's also not a good idea to get back together if you or your ex have emotion regulation issues. This means that there's emotionally explosive behavior in your relationship, and or one person has to tiptoe around the moods of the other person, and you or both of you or your ex is emotionally very unstable. Number 4, boundary issues. Don't get back together if you had boundary issues and nothing has changed. This could mean that you had no boundaries, that there was no space for individuality and differences. It could also mean that one or both of you wasn't able to respect each other's boundaries. For example, you wanted to go out with friends and your ex wasn't able to be okay with that. Number 5, self-esteem issues. You weren't able to feel good about yourself in this relationship. Your ex needed you to be inferior so they could be superior. They criticized you constantly, humiliated you in front of other people, and mostly seemed to look down on you. Number 6, empathy issues. Your partner wasn't able to be empathetic. They didn't listen to you. They didn't make an effort to understand you. They weren't interested in the things you wanted to share or discuss. They were only really enthusiastic when they did most of the talking, or you talked about topics that revolved around them. Number 7, dependence issues. There was an imbalance in dependence. One of you relied and depended too much on the other one. One of you was the strong, capable, reliable one, and the other one was the dependent or unreliable one. You either had to carry too much responsibility for your shared life, or you weren't able to or didn't get any room to take on responsibility. Number 8, power issues. You struggled sharing power. One person held on to almost all of the power and the other didn't dare claim any. One person made all the important decisions and the other person followed. One person was dominant, the other submissive. And by the way, this can start both ways. It can start from one person acting very dominantly, but it can also start from the other person being overly submissive, and usually it's a mix of both. Number 9, trust issues. It's also not a good idea to get back together if nothing has changed and you had trust issues. You couldn't trust each other either because there was actual lying, manipulating, or cheating going on, or because both or one of you had unresolved trust issues from the past. Number 10, emotional intimacy issues. You weren't able to get close emotionally. You didn't open up to each other authentically. You didn't talk about the stuff beneath the surface. You had no idea about each other's past conditionings, vulnerabilities, and emotions. Of course, again, this can come from one or both partners blocking emotional intimacy and authenticity. Common reasons for this are feeling defective and worthless, thinking it's better to hide your true self, and emotion phobia, wanting to avoid feelings. If any of these issues were present in your relationship and nothing has changed since your breakup, it's just not a good idea to get back together. Of course, you could also decide to get back together under the condition that you will work on the necessary change after you're together again, but that bears the risk that you'll get together, and then when the actual work of change would need to start, it doesn't. Relationships that have any of these issues will leave you feeling dissatisfied, lonely, unseen, misunderstood, and emotionally deprived. These issues stand in the way of relationships serving the purpose that relationships can serve: to be emotionally close, support, and understand one another. Your needs won't be met if you're in a relationship with these kinds of issues, and that is harmful to your mental and physical health. No matter what you end up doing, I wish you all the best and the kind of loving and supportive relationship you deserve. Till next time, take care, and remember, consider the long-term effects of getting back together. Just hoping for the best isn't enough when the facts speak against it working out.